You're listening to This Week in Real Estate with your host, Rob Golfi. Brought to you by the Golfi Team at RE/MAX Escarpment, featuring Conrad Zarini, broker-owner of RE/MAX Escarpment Realty Inc., and Brian Hogben, owner of Mission 35 Mortgages. Let's hear what's going on in real estate this week.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Good to see you. Good to see you feeling refreshed after a phenomenal Christmas party last night.
Yes, good show, Conrad. Good show.
Thank you.
I loved it. It was really good. A lot of fun. A lot of people. Was that one of the biggest turnouts,
for sure.
Like percentage-wise, like based on past?
Yeah, it was definitely a big turnout. We were super thrilled, to share it with everybody. So fun night.
Awesome.
Everybody had a great time too. It was so nice to see everybody and do that again. What a good time.
It is. It was really good. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you so much. Yeah. I think you should join RE/MAX Escarpment, RE/MAX Niagara just for the parties alone.
That's it.
You're a realtor. It was a good show, but we're here to talk about real estate, and I'm telling you, Brian, the Bank of Canada raised its rate 0.5 point this week. Yep.
So
is that going to be it, or what's going to happen?
Just on a funny note here, I saw a meme the other day, which was hilarious, and it was the scene from Home Alone where one of the wet bandits is on the roof and he throws a brick down on somebody. And then it said the guy with the brick was the Bank of Canada and the guy on the ground was the Canadian consumer. So to that point, though, I thought that was funny. But the reality is, I think the bad news is, like, it's a 0.5 point. It's Christmas time. Like, it's just like, it's really aggressive. But the good news is I pulled the note what the Bank of Canada said. And it's the first time that they've had this sort of narrative. And it said, looking ahead, Governing Council will be considering whether the policy interest rate needs to rise further to bring supply demand back into balance. So it's kind of a different story that they're saying now. Yep. So at least by January 25th, that's the next interest rate hike. All the other times they were bullish and saying, gotta go up. At least now they're saying, we're doing 0.5, take this, take this on the nose. But I think there's a really good possibility of them pausing January 25th. We have two more. There's two numbers that come out. It's the Consumer Price Index, the CPI. This Bank of Canada meeting was based on October numbers because they are lagging. In January 25th, there'll be two more numbers that come out. So if the November number and the December, so if those ones trend downwards, like I think, we'll be in a good spot in January to see a pause. That's
high probability. If they freeze any more increases, they'll hover there for a bit, and maybe a year or two, we might see them kind of coming back down a little bit. Or is that hopeful thinking?
Well, I'm bullish on it, and Brian's 100% right. But it takes 6 to 8 quarters for this stuff to really take hold. So those numbers are really meaningless. And Brian's right; they're using the word pause now, and it's not what rate increase. It's whether. So there's all that kind of stuff, which is good news. I think, honestly, at the end of the day, maybe I'm too optimistic and too positive, but I think it was a Christmas gift to Canadians because I think it's over. And, a 0.25 point would have been like, what is it? A death by 1,000 cuts. I think they did 0.5 point. It's going to be over probably by I think we're going to see it easing in Q3. And remember, this all started with 25 basis point increase in March, this downward slide. We're leveled off now. It's only a matter of going up. So this is good news for buyers sitting on the sidelines. Yeah. Some good inventory out there, good opportunity. And, sellers, take advantage of this market right now that, it's hit bottom. And if you want to make a decision now and you'll do well in the market, because if you're buying and selling in the same market, it's pretty amazing. So great opportunity.
I think one thing for anybody that's in a mortgage right now, typically the worst thing, but human behavior is once you've been hammered on interest rate increases so much, you want to lock in. It's always human psychology. Once you get to the peak, you're like, I've had enough. I want to lock in. What we're telling people to do now is listen, if you're in a mortgage and you're worried about it, do a mortgage approval and have the closing date 90 days or 120 days from now. So you have to do a little bit of work. You put your time investment into it. We can hold You're not allowed to do a rate hold per se when you're switching or refinancing a mortgage, but we can do an approval 3 months to 4 months down the road. So then at least that way, hey, if there is more interest rate hikes, it's a great idea. If, to Conrad's point, it's pause, which I think it's pause, it's going down, you actually don't have to trigger that mortgage. And it's a great way for peace of mind and security right now to hedge an interest rate, but not necessarily lock into anything right now.
Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah, it's funny. Phil's looking for a house, and he's figuring, wow. He goes, how are people affording this?
Mm-hmm. I know.
Like, he's looking at the what his mortgage is going to be and everything else like that, and he goes, he just doesn't understand. He goes, he does pretty good, and he's going, how do people afford houses? And I think, and you know what? And I'm looking at him. I go, yeah, no kidding. Especially with the way the housing prices are. So, housing prices right now, I think. Back to that, I think right now is a good time to get some good deals. December is always a great month. Yeah. If you're going to buy and you're looking at buying for a house for yourself, you can hammer out a really good deal. Mm-hmm. The month, because of the grind and the grit, like it's kind of almost gone to a halt. People psychologically feel that their house is not worth what it is as a seller. Now, as a buyer, this is where you can hammer them down. Now, if you're a seller, you know what? Hold on, hang on, because we know usually at 1st of February things start really rolling. Mm-hmm. I think if you're thinking about selling your house, I think right now is the time to get somebody in and figure out what you're planning on doing, what things you have to do around the house to get your house sold ready. Yeah, sure. That's one thing. So, but now the other thing that's talking about is starting in January about the foreign buyer ban. This is really happening in January. So, Conrad, like when they say non-resident, are they talking about some guy in a different country buying a house here and not living in it? Like, or is this an immigrant coming into this country? He's here, but he's not a citizen yet. Like, can a guy come off, get off the airplane? Hey, listen, they accepted me as an immigrant. Can I buy a house?
Well, yeah, it's the luxury market and the cottage market and all that kind of stuff that Americans have been, shopping and stuff like that. That's going to be ending. Yeah, you're right. And it's very interesting because we don't really know a lot of the details. So I was just with Tim Hudak the other day, and they're talking about like maybe using NAFTA rules. So, Mexicans and Americans won't be subject to it. So they're still kind of hashing things out here. It's not 100%. Be interesting how they're going to find people and all that kind of stuff too. It's kind of crazy. But my problem is that brain drain of people, students that want to become citizens, that want to stay here, buy a house. I think that's the problem. Skilled trades. One of the cherries out there is buying a property. 14% buy before they become a citizen. So you're losing like at least that's more than 1 in 10 new immigrants that won't be able to buy a house. With 500,000 immigrants, you got like 50,000, let's say, they have a household of 3 or 4 people. So could be about 9,000 units that might not have been sold to people that were going to eventually become citizens, and they won't be able to take advantage of this great market. That's the other problem too, as well, that they see that this correction that we've had. So it's not, it was ill thought out. I have to say that.
So what they're saying is that, to enforce this ban, anyone knowingly helps a non-Canadian to buy a house could face up to $10,000 in fines. And they said this is going to hit more developers more than it. I would say it would hit more Toronto developers more than anything. Like I don't know. Like we do
Vancouver.
Yep. Vancouver, we do mostly resale. We are only doing resale. We don't have any developers or new home builds that we deal with. And are they facing that in the Hamilton, Niagara? Like, I don't think so. Like, are we getting out of town, but like out of country foreign buyers buying in this area? I think it's more Toronto, Vancouver. It's
definitely. Yeah, years ago there was, there used to be these busloads of Chinese people coming to buy, but China really clamped down on that, so we don't see that as much anymore locally. There was some in Niagara, Thundering Waters, that subdivision there, that development. there was some foreign buyers there, but like nothing. But Vancouver, definitely Toronto, and all these builders are on high alert in terms of getting all that information about the buyer, right?
So is that going to affect their sales now? Like how much would that affect them? Do you know? Like, I mean,
again, I heard the figures like 3%. So if you think so if it's 3%, like, look, all of Canada, there's going to be 450, 500,000 sales in Canada this year. I don't know. You guys do the math.
3% is
that's 3% is really, come on, at the end of the day, what are we talking about here? Like 15,
that's
not a lot.
Like, what are they worried about? Something that, like, they know the percentages. Like, why are they focused so much on that? Like, is it maybe 3%? The total 3% between Toronto and Vancouver. Who knows?
I think it was kind of to derail the foreign investment of it, right? But I think to Conrad's, which is not very, because you got to bring in a truckload of cash, which is hard to bring in that amount of cash to buy it. But I think to Conrad's point there, it really affects the future Canadian that wants to buy the house in here. But I think it was implemented with the investors in mind. But I think the unintended consequence, which is a nice catchphrase we always hear from the government, is the aspiring Canadian that kind of gets screwed out of it.
But it's not going to stop these big corporations, these big investment gurus and whatever that are investing in properties at a rapid rate. So they just set up in Canada and they're all good, right? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So
Sure.
it's the look, and we're talking 3% of all the sales. So I just said 500,000 of resale. Forget all the housing starts and everything. So we probably built, I don't know, like 200,000-300,000 homes in Canada. So 800,000, like, it's a very, very small percentage, and it's very unfair, very punitive. And I think they needed a bad guy. They needed a bad guy, so the foreign investor was the one. They needed a demon.
So it's not something we have to worry about asking every buyer, say, hey, by the way, are you just got off an airplane and you want to buy a house? Are you a foreign investor? Like, cool.
Well,
like, are we going to get?
You should have a SIN number, right? Probably an easy way, just to make sure they got a SIN number that doesn't start with a 9. 9 means you're in application for. No, but it means you're in application for it. That's a telltale sign for us.
Oh, is that true? Like, I didn't know that.
If the SIN starts with the 9, it's mostly you're like I forget the word. You're applying for the citizenship, but if you have an actual SIN.
But Rob, we were lucky, and you were lucky. You had this, but with the foreign buyer tax, it did. A couple of files landed on my desk where these foreign buyers got 15% tax on it when they went to close. No one told them. They had no idea. So they sued realtors civilly. So that's the thing. So you're not only getting exposed to the fact that you'll get a fine, but you could have exposed civilly that there's damages. So everybody's got to make sure they get, like you said, Brian's advice is fantastic. Get a SIN number. It's going to be super critical at this point, because you get sued civilly for damages because they said, well, I didn't know, they didn't tell me, I'm going to sue them. I prepared myself. You know what I mean? I moved here. Now you're going to have to pay for my hotel, whatever. I thought it was going to close. It's going to happen at the last minute. So there's an exposure for resale people as well.
Well, during the fast market, it's easy to not know if they're foreigners or not. But now with the way the market's going, you almost become friends with your buyers. Just taking them out, and you get to learn who they are and stuff like that.
A telltale sign be if they're geting a mortgage as well too, right? So if they're saying they're not getting a mortgage and they're going cash, and just maybe do some more digging. Right?
So actually, that'd be a good little training session, just to advise all the agents and stuff like that, to let them know, hey, you know what? If you got a feeling that they're foreigners buying a house here, you got to inform them, get some information. They may not be able to buy a house, so don't waste your time on these people, because now when does the 2-year mark start for these guys? Like they say you can't, if they're okay, I'm in a different country, I want to buy a house in Canada. Like, do I put an application in, hey, I want to buy a house in Canada? 2 years later I can, even though or like, how does, like, who gets, like, how do they determine when the 2-year mark starts?
Well, January, so it's January 1, but I will say this, we got an election coming in. Look, I've heard a rumor there's an election coming next spring. Maybe they might call an election. They might do a non-confidence vote. So you never know. Our buddy Justin will maybe in his bag of tricks will lift that, make all these immigrants happy. His dad was famous for the prime minister pro-immigrant. So he's going to say, you know what? We've thought about this. We're going to lift it, blah, 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 to get more of those foreign votes. So it's a political play every time.
That's it. Anyway. Well, guys, listen, I appreciate you guys coming on here on a Friday, even after a heavy party. I heard there was a lot of after parties, after parties last night.
4 o'clock, I got to bed last night.
Conrad's got his pajamas
buddy,
on
I appreciated that. You're dedicated guy. Oh my God. I know some of the people came walking in hanging pretty tough coming in. But anyway, guys, listen. Everybody that's listening, I appreciate you listening. If there's any questions or anything you guys want to talk about, let us know.
Yeah.
Again, if you're a realtor, listen, look up Conrad Zerini with Remax Escarpment Remax Niagara. And if you're a mortgage guy, mortgage broker yourself, listen, talk to Brian at Mission 35 Mortgages, mission35.com, and myself. Hey, you want to be on the #1 team, Remax team in Canada? Give us a call. We're always looking. All right, man. Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care.
Have a great weekend.
Okay. Bye-bye.